This month's sponsor of the AdTechGod Pod is Flash Talking. They were also the first month sponsor when I launched this podcast. In fact, Flash Talking has a long history of being first to market. It was the first EdTech platform to pioneer dynamic, creative optimization, aka DCO. It was also the first ad server to go cookieless and natively integrate verification. And it was the first to use AI for creative classification. Then, after being bought by Mediaocean, Flash Talking was the first to combine open web and CTV with walled gardens. With its track record of always being first, it's no wonder Flash Talking was just named number one for creative management platforms on G2 based on hundreds of verified customer reviews. It's also number one for cross-channel advertising software, and now it's running a promotion for the first person to use the hashtag #FlashTalkingFirst on social media. So go to LinkedIn, X, Facebook, Instagram, even Threads, and use hashtag #FlashTalkingFirst. And if you're first, you win. Welcome to the AdTechGod Pod, your window into the world of advertising technology and the people behind it. I'm your host, AdTechGod. Welcome to another episode of the AdTechGod Pod, where we engage with some of the most influential women in our industry. Today, we're thrilled to have Natalie Scully from Vivo joining us on the AdTechGod Pod. Natalie has spent the past 12 years at Vivo and is the Executive Vice President, Revenue, Distribution, and Data Operations. Prior to Vivo, she's worked at companies we all recognize, including ESPN, USA Today, and J. Morgan Chase. I know Natalie, but she has no idea who I am. We're excited to have you here, Natalie. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here and super excited to chat.
I know it's driving you nuts. You can't figure it out, but you're not.
It really is.
I know. I could tell. You're like, wait, you sound so familiar.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing, Natalie. Like, thank you. Thank you for being here. I obviously know you and respect you, and I respect everything that you've done at Vivo. So thanks for being here and allowing me to get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the conversation and honored, really. Sometimes for me, it's really hard, because I think when you look at yourself and your career, all of these things that you accomplished, I don't know how much we actually sit back and truly sort of recognize where you kind of come from and where you're going. So thank you.
No, thank you. And I think that's a big part of it. It's, getting to know everyone. And one thing that I've really realized is that nobody has this pure, linear path into how they got to where they're at. It might look that way on a LinkedIn page or on your resume, but there are so many ups and downs. People have pivoted multiple times in their careers. They've left the industry and come back. It's pretty crazy to hear it. So for me, it makes me feel better that I've completely pivoted. And at the same time, I'm just having fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love it.
Natalie, you've worked at great companies. You've obviously been at Vivo for 12 years, which is a very long time to be in one place. And I think that probably shows a lot about the culture and the company you're at. But how did you get into this space? How did you start? I'd love to hear kind of your journey.
I guess I'd call it random how I got into this space. Out of college, I started at JP Morgan Chase, as you mentioned, in sort of the back office operations role, managing trust and investment accounts and working with customer service within the organization on these accounts, and was enjoying it. Naturally fell into a team lead or leadership role at a young age in my career there, and wanted to continue sort of in that path, but didn't find the opportunities that I was looking for at that specific area. So I kind of said, you know what, I'm going to pause. I think I might like to go back to school. Wanted to go to law school, said I'm going to study for my LSATs. I'm going to work at a law firm to make sure that's really what I want to do. And decided to pivot down that path, found that it wasn't quite for me. And my background was in accounting and international business. And I found a job at ESPN in the credit and collection side, working with the different sales teams on bringing in the revenue that they had, generated and built with the IOs that they'd done, and we were sort of on the back end working to collect that revenue, and fell in love with the company, fell in love with media. And from there, sort of went into more of the sales support side at ESPN and continued to build my career. So I kind of fell into media, to be honest, and have loved it ever since.
It's funny. I think people outside of the media space, and they don't realize just how big it is and how many different paths you can take in the media industry. It's just, you went from kind of working finance, accounting, collections, and now you're in tech. And you're all in the same space. So it's pretty incredible just how large of an industry it is.
Yeah. The one consistency I've found through it is that I've always leaned on sort of the operational side of it. There was a point where I thought I wanted to go into sales and realized that that really isn't where I fit best. I fit best sort of in those support roles or helping to figure out how to optimize a process or optimize our technology stack so that however sales wants to go to market, we can sort of support that and build that. And I think throughout my career, that operational piece has always been sort of the needle that's thread through there.
Do you think that operational mindset is what helps you do, I guess, the technology piece today, like being able to understand the requirements and partner with the right people and implement those?
Yes, I definitely think so. I always find that it's so important to have sort of that broader view of the entire ecosystem and then figure out how systems can help you support that. And I think that's so important. If I get too narrow into one element, you just lose sight of what you're looking for, what you're looking for the products to do for you. And I think having sort of that operational, start to finish flow always on hand and always at the top of mind gives me the picture that I need to know what I'm looking for from the tech side.
It's interesting because you are, I want to say episode maybe 50. And out of the, let's say 50 people I've interviewed, not very many have made it to 10, 11, 12 years. You're probably, I think, the second or third. But what's kept you at Vivo? Is it the progression in your career? Is it the pivoting of the business? I'd love to kind of hear it.
Both, to be honest with you. It's a bit of everything. I'll start with the culture and the people. I think it is a great company that breeds creative thinking, which I love and thrive on. The company is not afraid to continue to change its course, try new things, and be okay if something fails, right? To just figure out what worked and move on. And that to me, from a company culture side, is so valuable. It allows you to challenge yourself, think outside the box. And then, I've had a lot of opportunity there, and that's been really great for me. I think one thing that I had a great leader who taught me that, you should always be at a point where you're feeling a bit uncomfortable. My progression at Vivo has always given me the opportunity to get to that next step, to do that and continue to figure out where my passions lie and what I want to learn next. I think that's how I went from revenue operations to incorporating distribution operations and then to data operations. Distribution and data operations are all newer areas to me, but they all have a lot of commonality to them. And I think, being at a company that promotes growth, promotes leadership, promotes sort of that creative thinking, and has really been something that I can't leave, I would say, at the moment. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but
I mean, I think that's a big part of it. I think people often leave when they get bored or their roles get a little stagnant. Like, okay, I've been doing the same thing for 4 years. It's time for me to either move up, become a people manager, or shift and take on another department and learn something new. It becomes a little too repetitive. And that's usually when people's minds won't start to wander. start thinking, is it better somewhere else? I need to start looking. And then they eventually just jump. But if your role is changing every few years and you're being challenged and a little bit uncomfortable to where you're forcing yourself to stay engaged, I think that's what makes employees stick around. When you talk about handling revenue, distribution, and data operations, Vevo historically was just on YouTube, right? Then you guys expanded outside. What made you decide on that, and how has the growth of connected television and streaming helped Vevo as an overall company?
So the mission of Vivo has always been to drive the promotional and commercial value of our artists and their music, right? And we've really held true to that throughout the years that I've been there. And I think that's the key question that we always ask ourselves. And that's how we've sort of grown from being primarily on YouTube to where we are today with over 35 plus distribution platforms, primarily in the connected television space, whether it's, fast MVPDs or an owned and operated app that we have. And really, it's about bringing our content where the users are, right? The consumers, are consuming their content where they want to, where they naturally go. And one of the things that's been important to us is bringing music video content, which we know really speaks to every fan out there, right? Where are they consuming it and how do we get it in front of them? And, that's been a successful approach for us. And connected television has been a crucial piece of that business. It grew quickly and it continues to grow. And there's so much opportunity. It's bringing that music video back to the television and allowing folks to sort of enjoy it in either the lean back way or, on demand if you want to watch the most recent premiere of one of your favorite artists.
Where do you feel you're seeing or where do you feel the industry is going to grow the fastest over the next, 12 to 24 months? Because obviously streaming is hot everywhere. Fast is growing pretty rapidly. We also hear a little bit of consolidation in the space. We're starting to hear, a lot of the production houses are having some, downsizing of their teams. Where do you, as someone that sits at your level, seeing the greatest opportunity for growth as you continue to kind of expand these distribution channels and data partnerships?
I think we're going to continue to see growth in the connected television space, even with consolidation. I think more of that, though, will be sort of globally in markets that are just starting to really dive into the space more. I think the other area is, I never thought that I would say that there would be something shorter than, the 4-minute music video. But I think there's something there. How do we, connect that content in some of these spaces, and how is that consumed based on sort of the younger demographic and, how they use their phones and how they're consuming content these days.
So is it more, I guess, focused around like reels and social media posts?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's the piece where it's so interesting because our consumer is evolving with all of the technology that we have. I think it's evolving and we all kind of have to try and figure out how to evolve with it.
I mean, I could tell you from like a social standpoint, as someone that has not worked in social at all, it's extremely powerful and it's very addictive, and it's a great way to have people stick to your brand. So, whether it's a new music video from Beyonce or my favorite Taylor Swift, I am a Swiftie, but it's a great way to capture people and to engage. So I'd love to hear, what the plans are in the future, and kind of looking forward to seeing what you guys do there. What do you feel like in your career working at Vevo or elsewhere was really that aha moment that you realized, okay, this is the industry I want to work in. I love it. Like, I'm having fun. I'm learning. Was there a particular moment, or was it more of looking back at your career and realizing this was a good choice?
I was at ESPN And I remember myself being in a meeting with leadership, and we were talking about video at the time and how can we, build video and how can we, monetize it. And I looked around the room and I thought to myself, this is my first job in media and I really want to be successful here, but I really need to learn more about the space in itself to be successful as an executive, as I grow in my career. And that was when I decided I had gotten the opportunity to go to Vivo. And that was, completely the other spectrum. It was all video. We were building from the ground up. But it was really a moment for me kind of learning that if I wanted to be successful, I really had to understand the holistic business. And that was sort of a pivotal time for me. I wanted to stay in this media, but I really wanted to learn more about it to then be successful and be, instrumental in a company's success in essence.
You obviously have a family, Natalie. I know this.
I do. Yes.
I know that's weird, but I know this. Yeah, I know. You're probably like, oh, this is killing me. Who is this guy? How do you balance it? You're an executive at a big company. You handle a lot. How do you find that work-life balance that keeps you healthy and happy and moving forward?
It's a blessing to have a family, I think, and to have a career. There are times where it's not easy. I do have to find myself making the conscious decision to put family first. Sometimes I think as a woman in a career, I often compete with myself internally about what's the right choice to make, on going to catch the soccer game or make sure that you're on a call or, those types of things on a daily basis. But for me, it's always hard to keep that balance, but it's one that I think as I continue to navigate, it gets easier in certain areas, but I wouldn't change any of it because I love having both, and I think it also takes an amazing support team. I have an amazing husband who supports me, who manages life when I'm traveling. But, a lot of it, I think, is the internal battle that I find I have on both ends.
I will never understand a mother's perspective, but I know as a father's perspective, even for me, it's hard. Like there are times where I feel guilty for having to pick up my kids. I find myself apologizing for being in my car during a call because I'm, driving to go watch my kids for their, activities. It is a tough balance, like being a parent and being there for your kids at the same time. So I'm really happy that you shared that. And I know it's really, really personal, but I think a lot of us deal with that. I think the involved parents, whether mother or father, find a hard balance between providing and also, obviously succeeding in your role and then also being there for our kids. So I thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you.
What do you feel if, looking back at your career, what would you have told yourself if you were to mentor your younger self? What's something that you would give advice to yourself in the past?
It would be to be more confident in yourself early on. I think that's a big one for me. At the beginning, I think I've struggled with, but as you continue to become more of an expert in your role, as you grow, I go back to that uncomfortableness in a role, right? Be okay with that. I also think patience, right? I say this to a lot of the employees on my team who are starting out younger in their careers and, want to get to that next level, want that promotion. It's all about patience, I think, working hard and patience and knowing that if you continue on your course, you will get there and that time is less of an important gauge than sort of what you're learning and what you're building yourself.
What do you think is the most undervalued skill? I'm a big networker, always have been. even though nobody knows who I am, but I've always been very strong on my network, maintaining relationships and building that out. That's just something I personally like. But what do you think is, a very undervalued skill that you're seeing in our space that, whether direct reports, whether it's colleagues, partners, where do you think it's the most undervalued skill that people should focus on and build on?
I think where folks should look at, learning knowledge outside of sort of their role, right? To learn more about the business, learn more about the space, learn more about companies to help them, right? I think it goes to an element of folks taking the time to read the trades, those types of things that I think we all need to sort of, I myself, take that time to read what's in the trades, learn more about what's going on in the market. And that I think is important.
Natalie, thank you so much for being here. You've been an incredible guest, and thank you to Vivo also for having you represent the company.
Thank you for having me. This has been a wonderful chat.
Same here. Thank you, and I'll speak to you soon.
Talk soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the AdTechGod Pod, a podcast for the people, about the people that make AdTech great. Stay connected with me for more insights, trends, and interviews in the realm of AdTech. Don't miss out on our latest updates, so follow me on X, Instagram, and connect with me on LinkedIn. Don't forget, ATG Slack community has insights, networking opportunities, and jobs. Keep the conversation going and stay at the forefront of AdTech innovation.